The White House is working out where those savings will go. Some of it could make its way into your pocket. Democrats continue to rally against DOJ's efforts. Republican lawmakers say that just doesn't make any sense.
What they've uncovered so far is shocking. And this is, again, only the beginning. The Democrat Party's tantrums are exactly why they hold no majority in Congress and their candidate is not in the White House. DOJ is rightly pulling back the curtains that have been closed for years. And the outrage we are seeing across the aisle is baffling.
Baffling. Peter Doocy is live at the White House for us. Hello, Peter.
Sandra, good morning. And we have some new details about how these DOJ checks could work. And it turns out that before they could be cut and sent and cashed, Congress would first have to go through a long and drawn-out spending fight.
20% back to taxpayers, 20% to pay down the debt. 60% is left. Who gets that?
Well, the way that it works is when you achieve savings, you can either return it to taxpayers, you can return it to our debtors, or it can be cycled into next year's budget.
And there's broad bipartisan support for cutting wasteful programs and duplicate payments. But these direct-to-taxpayer refunds are a tough sell even for the president's most important allies in Congress.
If you think about our core principles, right, fiscal responsibility is what we do as conservatives. That's our brand. And we have a $36 trillion federal debt. We have a giant deficit that we're contending with. I think we need to pay down the credit card.
Elon Musk does not care that critics accuse DOJ of taking a chainsaw to programs that require more precision. That's why he carried a chainsaw on stage at CPAC just last night. And he dismissed complaints that he's got nefarious plans for people's social security numbers as the world's richest man.
I mean, listen, like if I steal some social security, I can finally buy nice things.
And we're also hearing from officials here that when they talk about $50 billion or so that DOJ claims to have cut so far, the actual number would be 10 or 12 times higher than that because of the way that CBO does their projections. Sandra?
Okay. Peter Doocy at the White House on that for us on this Friday. Thank you, Peter. All right. Well, Republican governors are starting to follow President Trump's lead, introducing DOJ-style bills designed to root out waste, reduce inefficiencies, and rid government of abuse. Yet, Democrats on Capitol Hill and beyond are railing against those efforts.
What exactly has he been doing? Who is it that he's hired? Who is it that he's firing? How he's coming to the conclusions that he's coming to?
It's tactics right now, essentially a smash and grab robbery. And speed is to your advantage when you're the smash and grab robber. And doing as much destruction can quickly is to your advantage when you're the smash and grab robber.
It's unfortunate that this has been an indiscriminate effort led by Elon Musk, one of the richest people, the richest man in the world, who has multiple conflicts of interest as he's looking at what he wants to do with government programs and people.
All right, News Nation host Chris Cuomo says Democrats are repeating their 2024 mistakes.
They're still in campaign mode. Sounds right. It seems like anything that Trump or Musk does, they have to condemn, and they have to condemn it on the basis of the people personally. To me, it just proves they haven't learned their lesson yet, that they should be in the better idea business. And they do seem like they're defending the status quo. They're just defending the establishment. And I don't think that's where you want to be right now. You want to be in the business of better.
All right. So Jessica Anderson, Sentinel Action Fund President, Fred Hicks Evaluation Group founder and president, joining us now. Jessica, I'll start with you first. Have there been no lessons learned?
Thanks, Sandra, for having me. No, it seems that Democrats have not learned any lessons from last November's election. They can't even look at this very common sense approach to cutting spending and celebrate it or support it or just stay quiet and let President Trump and members of Congress, and as you pointed out, many state leaders across the country do the things that they were elected to do last November. And I think, Sandra, what's really interesting that's happening, not only on the left, their reaction, but then you look at the right, cutting spending is not a new thing for the right. But what I think DOGE has done is it's allowed a permission structure or political cover to get these things done. And the left would be wise to take a page out of the right's playbook and say, this is what the American people want. They turned out in droves by the millions to support these sorts of efforts.
Fred, Texas Democrat Jasmine Crockett also seemed to belittle President Trump's support for the idea of sending Americans checks based on these DOGE savings.
Listen, he's just telling a lie. He's not the one that had anything to do with the $1,200 refunds that people had during the midst of COVID that was done by a Democratic House and Democratic Senate. Right now, what they're going to do is say, hey, we want to give you a refund, but Congress won't let us because they already know that there's just no money for that. The only reason that those refunds came before was because we were living in different times.
Fred, why does it seem that Democrats don't even want to give this a chance?
Well, Sandra and Jessica, I think the reality is that Democrats are not opposed to a sound and really fiscally responsible financial plan. As a matter of fact, I'd like to remind our viewers that the last time America had a budget surplus, much less a balanced budget, was under a Democratic president named Bill Clinton. With that being said, our issue for many of us, or at least for me personally, is not what necessarily Donald Trump is trying to do, but it's how he and Elon Musk are going about doing it. You cannot be accurate in what you're doing by using an algorithm and AI only. You need to actually talk to people. And you can't just go in 2 days with a computer and say, okay, here are the people we need to fire, and here are the changes we need to make. Yes, government needs to be right-sized, as some said, and yes, there are places where you can trim fat. But the reality is that they are indeed taking a wide approach as opposed to actually trying to find real savings, and that's a problem.
Okay, I'll let Jessica respond to that real quickly before we move on. It seems to me, Fred, you're not against DOGE.
Well, no, I'm not against a sound fiscal policy, and I don't think Democrats are. Again, that's not been our brand, and that's not been our thing. But the one thing I will say before we get to Jessica here is that when we talk about the DOGE at the state levels, I remind people that here in Georgia and in Texas, Republicans have held the governor's mansion for at least 20 years. And so when they're talking about bringing a state-level DOGE to root out waste, fraud, and abuse, you've been in charge of these states. So whatever waste, fraud, and abuse there is, that is under your watch.
All right, Jessica.
Look, I would just say that the American people don't have time to wait around. We are in bankruptcy. This is a national crisis, and there needs to be swift action. And I think the president's executive order that he released just 2 days ago, which actually places a DOGE employee at every single agency across the federal government, and they'll partner with OIRA, which is the regulatory branch within OMB. That is the scalp approach, Sandra. That is the specific and detailed, measured approach. So let Elon go and sell this with a machete on stage at CPAC. I have no problem with that. I love it. It's getting everyone's attention. Again, it's giving that political will to get this done, the permission structure I was talking about. And now let the president's EO and that directive to those DOGE employees be the scalpel to fine-tune exactly where we need to root out waste, fraud, and abuse.
All right, as we take in that image again, I want to move on to this. Senate Republicans scoring a big win happened this morning. Their preferred budget resolution after back-to-back votes on Democrat amendments went through. Their plan lays out funding for some of President Trump's biggest priorities. Trump taking an aggressive approach in his first month in office. He signed 73 executive orders so far on issues ranging from abortion to immigration to trade. The Daily Mail asked Republican senators to sum up Trump's first month in just one word. Some of their answers: aggressive, bold, action, and hurricane. The White House says the president is delivering results to the American people.
President Trump is doing exactly what he promised, and he's doing what Americans have begged and pleaded for generations, but no one has done. He's not just talking about cutting waste out of government. He is cutting out government programs that don't work or that worse, abuse and hurt the American people. He's stopping federal censorship. He's stopping weaponized government. He's using those powers to protect Americans and American lives.
So new polls this week do show Trump's job approval dipped just a bit since he took office, but is holding pretty steady in the high to mid 40% range. Fred, what he's been doing seems pretty popular, and he is answering what the American people asked for when they voted for him.
Yeah, his approval rating is good relative to his approval rating in his first term. Relative to other presidents after 30 days, it is lower. So I just want to just say that. But that being said, Donald Trump is doing exactly what he said he was going to do, and that is indisputable. The reality, though, is what are the outcomes that we are actually seeing from those things? We're not sure. At one point, he and Elon Musk said, oh, we found $8 billion in savings. In reality, it was $8 million in savings. And when pressed on it, the idea or the response in general was that, well, I'm going to say some things that are inaccurate. Well, the inaccuracies is what DOGE is supposed to be solving and supposed to be fixing. And so that's not happening, or at least it does not yet seem that is happening. But that being said,
I think we're still, we're 1 month in here, and you want everything fixed in 30 days.
They're saying after 30 days they want to send $5,000 back.
Jessica, go ahead.
Look, I think over 77 million Americans voted for President Trump's agenda, and it includes all of the executive orders that have already come out of the White House. I think we should applaud the Senate last night and into this morning for putting together a framework that begins to tackle these main issues. I think we have a major 7 to 9 days ahead on Capitol Hill as they try to reconcile their differences back to the House. And so I think it's important, Sandra, that we remember exactly what's at stake. It's delivering on the president's agenda for all Americans. And we've got a really important deadline coming up on March 14th, where one of the big planks from the Trump agenda is border security. And that border funding is going to get very, very tight when the CR expires. So the Senate taking this big first step with their framework budget allows the process to start. We've already seen now that the House is going to hopefully follow suit on Tuesday. And so how you reconcile these two packages that are going to move through the chambers, I think this is the task of President Trump. Only he can unite. I think we're going to see an even more presence from him over the last 20 days.
Wow. Well, we're about to see him any moment now. Jessica, Fred, thanks so much. Enjoyed the conversation.